seeing the effects of all that rain that has come down, plus the high tide. Several areas are dealing with major flooding, including South Seattle. Sky King showing us standing water flowing on the streets in the industrial district and forcing people out of some local businesses. King 5's Julie Calhoun joins us live with how things are looking there from the ground. Julie.
Christine, right now, parts of this industrial area right off the Duwamish waterway are underwater. This road is closed from 2nd Avenue to 8th Avenue and North Canyon area. You can see some crews are out here. They're actually putting down some more sandbags right now. And even in the past 20 minutes, we have started to see some of this water recede. But just earlier, we did see a couple cars stuck in the water that are going to have to be towed. Seattle Fire Department says they did get a water rescue call for a father and son in a vehicle. When they got there, the water was halfway up the car. Fire crews were able to open the door and both got out safely. Crews also responded to a call from a welding business just a couple of streets up from where I am right now on 4th Avenue, who reported 2 feet of water inside with their power source underwater, and things were steaming. Once crews arrived, that water had receded and that emergency was over. All of these businesses are impacted right now. We have seen people that are inside working, just waiting to get out since they essentially can't leave because of the water. And we talked with one business owner who says this is really just a combination of issues.
They've had a storm sewer problem in this neighborhood where a high tide combined with a lot of rain or snow melting would back up the storm sewers, which were gravity feeding into the Duwamish.
So again, right here from 2nd Avenue to 8th Avenue, the North Canyon area, those roads are closed right now. We've been checking in with SDOT to get an update on road closures throughout the area. And we'll be continuing to keep our eyes on conditions as they change throughout the day. So we'll bring you at the very latest. Back to you, Christine.
All right, Julie, thank you very much. And farther north in the city, Seattle City Light is reporting about 4,000 customers are without power in the North Queen Anne and Magnolia areas. They're still looking into what caused this. We're going to check in with Christopher Nunley in just a moment, but first, take a look at this. In Everett, West Marine View Drive is temporarily closed due to high water. These are photos from police showing what drivers are now facing. Streets around the city are looking like rivers. Rising creeks are causing flooding all over the north end. The city of Mountlake Terrace is telling people to be careful and watch out for standing water. It has street crews out evaluating those conditions. And in Olympia, the fire department says to avoid going downtown if possible. High tide is causing flooding concerns and Capitol Lake is rising. You can see the boardwalk downtown is inundated with that flood water. Well, the king tide paired with today's area of low pressure are causing flooding for some people in Des Moines today. King 5's Connor Board is live at Whalers Village condominiums in Des Moines where people are dealing with flooding. So Connor, what are you seeing there right now?
Right now I'm in the parking lot of the condominiums and it's looking a lot more like a pond than a parking lot right now. You can see some of these cars were pushed out of their parking spots by the floodwaters, and these cars also, some of them have water inside of them, but people here say this is actually a much better scene than this morning now that some of the water has receded. People were out helping each other today as we saw multiple people moving their cars and scooping water out of the cars. Luckily, we're told that water did not get into any of the actual condos. The flooding is just in the parking lot. People here say they see an extremely high tide about once a winter, but that this one was one of the worst.
There were a couple people trying to push a car, so I ran out here to help do that. And then a couple of the vehicles over here, people are starting to try and move them. We're like, don't turn them on, don't turn them on, just put them in neutral and just trying to do what we can to help the situation.
Despite flooded cars here at the complex, people we talk to say they're just thankful they have neighbors who are willing to step up and help each other when needed. And like I said, people say the water has already gone down significantly and they're just hoping that the water keeps receding throughout the day so people can get more of their cars out. Reporting in Des Moines, Connor Board, King 5 News.
Christopher Nunley is tracking this storm from the First Alert Weather Center. Christopher, that water was rising very quickly.
It really was. A combination of factors really led to this flood event today for coastal parts of Washington and around Puget Sound. So we are in just an astronomically high tide period. And then when you factor in that area of low pressure that is approaching the coast, you had those winds kind of piling up some of the waters. And let's face it, the water levels continue to rise with climate change. That was the perfect recipe to lead to the flooding that we saw across the area. And it came just at the time of that peak tide earlier this morning. Good news is the tides continue to lower right now, and around 2:30 we're going to see that low tide, so the water should continue to recede. But there is a coastal flood advisory in effect for this green shaded area for Puget Sound until 1 p.m. So we have about another 50 minutes of this coastal flood advisory before that expires. We will see a second higher tide around 7:12 this evening, but this one is forecast to be about 3 feet lower than what we saw this morning. But again, a few areas could see some minor flooding later on this evening once we get that second high tide. Coastal flood warning out along the coast. This continues until 10 p.m. This is where we're going to see some significant flooding continue throughout the afternoon into the evening hours. Tides could be 1 to 2 feet higher than normal, along with some large waves that could not only cause that water inundation, but that possibility of some coastal erosion, as we have some very large waves with that area of low pressure that is actually working its way on shore. Now, we're also tracking that potential for some flooding due to the rain that we're going to pick up. We're going to go into more detail about this freshwater flood risk and some strong winds that are going to move in that could be damaging over the next few hours. We'll have details on that coming up here in just a few minutes.
The Red Cross has opened a shelter in Bellingham because of flooding. It opened last night at Cordata Presbyterian Church. The flooding threat comes from a mix of that king tide, the wind blowing on shore, and of course the heavy rain showers. This same flooding threat is up and down the coast. This video here shows a king tide yesterday in Ocean Shores. Wind gusts could reach up to 70 miles per hour there later on today. And with all of the freezing temperatures, wind and rain over the last week, your home has probably taken a beating.
We are definitely seeing changes in weather patterns, and we're seeing winter start earlier and be wetter and colder. Now, whether that's related to climate change or La Nina winter or what have you, it's like if you're the homeowner who suffers damage, you probably don't care that much about all that stuff. You're just trying to figure out how to get your home repaired and livable.
The Northwest Insurance Council says with the wind gusts we expect to see, keep your eye on your trees. As wet as the ground is, these are the perfect conditions for falling trees and branches to break. While the best time to prep your houses in the fall during a storm, the advice from insurance companies is to act fast, whether that's after you lose power or if a tree falls on your home. After days of extreme winter weather across much of the country, Southwest Airlines now says it will operate at 1/3 of its schedule for the next several days. The move is an effort by Southwest to clear up that backlog of stranded passengers from forced cancellations of nearly 3,000 flights on Monday alone. While other airlines have also struggled with cancellations and delays from the winter storm, Southwest canceled flights were 10 times higher than those of other airlines like Delta. Travel headaches continue today at SeaTac Airport. FlightAware reports 79 flight cancellations and more than 100 delays in and out of Seattle. Nationwide, 4,400 flights have already been canceled today, and most of the cancellations at SeaTac are either from Alaska or Southwest. In all, it is estimated 17,000 flights have been canceled nationwide since last week. So why is it still such a big problem? Amy Kiley reports on the factors behind the air travel mess.
We're trying to fly home, but that's not looking like it's happening.
Many U.S. air travelers are in for another rough day. FlightAware says Southwest had canceled about 60% of today's flights before the day even started. It canceled roughly 70% of yesterday's. And
next available seats for rebooking are on the 31st and beyond.
Here's what's happening, according to the company.
Obviously facing some operational challenges this evening with Winter Storm Elliott. That has kind of moved on to include some challenges with our flight crews.
The phone systems that the company uses is just not working. They're just not manned with enough manpower in order to give the scheduling changes to flight attendants.
Southwest isn't the only airline that's been canceling flights, and the weather's been affecting airports too. Buffalo Niagara International says it'll remain closed today. Pittsburgh's airport is sending its snow equipment to help.
We've been hit with a blizzard none that the likes of Buffalo has seen with those high winds and snow amounts.
It's snowing again today in parts of the U.S., and the National Weather Service has issued several winter storm warnings. Some travelers are trying to make the best out of the situation.
Go back home, hang out with the pops for a couple more days, call my boss and tell him I'm sorry.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.